Now, ladies and gentlemen, and this is, I am so excited that we got this done. And Evan, I almost screwed it up again. So thank you so much for realizing that I'm adult and can't tell time in any part of the world. But I contacted Evan a while back when we started having these meetings, and I thought I knew what the time difference was, and I got really excited about our noon meeting. And Evan contacted me and he said, "You do realize that noon your time is 4 a.m. where I am?" I said, "No, I didn't know that." So okay. And so here we are. We're having our very first happy hour meeting, and we are thrilled that the Rotarian superhero, all the way from districts 9685 in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia, is here with us today. If you guys get an opportunity, go and follow Evan on Facebook and any other social media platform, because it is incredible. You'll learn things that you might never have been exposed to. I can share an example that we saw the story a few months ago about Paul Harris's grave, and we borrowed that from Evan, and that was really, really interesting. So we're going to just turn it over and say, Evan, welcome to District 6150, and we're glad that you're here.
Well, thank you very much. As I said, it's much better than talking to you guys at 8:30 in the morning than 4 o'clock in the morning, or whatever the time it was. So I'm predominantly known for my public image, and I have done a little PowerPoint presentation, which sort of talks a little bit about the personal branding and that sort of thing. So I was just wondering, whoever is controlling the meeting, if I'm able to be made a presenter, so I might be able to share my screen. Is that possible? Yes, it is. And I shall share that screen. And let me just move this. I assume everybody can see? Yep, great. Okay, so that's awesome. So talking a little bit about personal branding through Rotary and all that sort of thing. So as Brian said, I am predominantly known as the sort of Rotary superhero. If you can tell, can I just actually, one quick question? I'm not sure if it's me, but does Brian, is his screen frozen? Can someone have a look at Brian? Because he looks like he's mid-drinking there. He's got a can in his hand, and it's like, it seems to be a never-ending glass of beer, can of beer there. Like, gee, that's commitment. He just keeps chugging that thing. Anyway, so I'm a big Superman fan, and I came up with this idea of the Rotary superheroes. One, that I think we are actually Rotary superheroes, but two, it sort of played into the well-known trope that is superheroes, and everybody sort of, when they see this, they instantly think, oh yes, Superman, Clark Kent. And with all the sort of superhero movies on at the moment, you can't really go past a theater without an AMC theater without seeing, the Avengers or Batman or Iron Man or something like that. So it kind of played in really well into using this as a good tool. So so that's what I'm predominantly known for. But I'm a real passionate Rotarian, and as you can see, my passion lies with getting the message out there. So I had this Rotary suit made a number of about 6 months or so ago, predominantly to wear at the Rotary convention in Hawaii, but that never happened. But I'm a real I wear my Rotary heart on my sleeve. But it actually sort of, the reason why I show this slide, and it ties into the fact that a lot of us are stuck at home, or if we do get the opportunity, we sort of get out and out of quarantine and head into, Walmart or Trader Joe's or Lowe's or the CVC pharmacy or whatever. We get the opportunity to sort of get out. And what I'm sort of suggesting is that we wear our like our Rotary shirts or our Rotary pins. There's these women there showing their Rotary pins and Rotary shirt or badges. And I think the reason why I suggest that is that it keeps it could be a good conversation starter. So if you're wearing your Rotary Club T-shirt or you've got a Rotary badge, ask me about Rotary, you don't know what sort of conversations could lead from that. So if you're just walking through the store and somebody sees you, or maybe you're wearing a shirt that says Rotarian at work, and they say, oh, look, oh, you guys are in Rotary. Oh, my grandfather was in Rotary, or blah, blah, blah. Or, is Rotary helping at the moment? Is Rotary still on? And it's a good way to sort of push the brand and hopefully generate some conversation. So, it's really good, useful to sort of show that you're a proud member of your Rotary Club. So as I said, I'm a Rotarian superhero. I'm a Rotarian. What's your superpower? And of course, it doesn't work for everybody. But at least this guy's given it a bit of a go, and that's the main thing. At least he gets the idea. We all get the idea, so we've got to have a little bit of fun with it. But through this sort of COVID-19 crisis, you guys this is the 52nd Zoom meeting I've done since March for Rotary, so I'm really knocking these through. But one thing that's really resonated with me in particular is the Rotary International theme, which is Rotary Connects the World. And usually these Rotary themes, that get put out by the Rotary International president, they sort of filter a little bit through to the clubs, and a lot of people don't really what's the word? It doesn't really resonate too well with too many people. It's just another one of these things that come out each year. But I think the Rotary Connects the World actually is probably one of the most apt Rotary International themes for a good long while. And I'm sure when Mark Maloney thought about it, he probably didn't think it would be, how Rotarians are connecting with each other all around the world online because of a pandemic. But I'm really humbled to see how many clubs are utilizing, GoToMeeting, Zoom, or whatever particular conference or video conference settings that they're using. And so that Rotary isn't cancelled. It's just different. And I think this is a really important for us, a message for us to share with our community, is that, just because a lot of us are all stuck at home doesn't mean that Rotary, the wheel isn't still turning. So Rotary isn't cancelled, it's just different. So I commend you on meeting on GoToMeeting and having your video meetings. Thankfully not doing it at midday, but having your happy hour, and whatever works for you works well for me. Now, the most important thing is that we've got to keep telling our Rotary story. And this is really self-evident through this current crisis, because it's important for us that people still know that Rotary is still operating, your club is still going forward. So we've got to talk about why and how we are, the Rotary sort of superheroes. And to me, a hero is an ordinary person doing things in an extraordinary way. And I feel that's Rotarians. Now, of course, like Superman, we don't rescue cats out of trees. But Brian, if that could be a fundraiser for your club, I'm not sure, Brian, though, if you are the type of man who would readily run up a tree to get a cat out of it. And I see that there's another one of your club members there has a very large ginger cat on her shoulder, or she did. Maybe it could be the first fundraiser for the club by getting her cat up the tree. See how many of her Rotary members can get up there and get it down. But as I said, we're not like Superman in that regard. But as superheroes, Rotarians, we are ending polio. and we're going to be wiping this disease off the face of the earth. And I think it's been pushed back a little bit, obviously due to this crisis and not as many of the vaccinators getting out there. But Rotarians have stuck by this for over 30 years to get this job done, and we're going to get there. And I think to us that's probably one of the greatest superheroic things that we can do. We also together we transform people's lives through Rotary. We transform the people's lives in the communities and also in our clubs. And I think this is really important for us to realize what kind of impact we have in the jobs that we do as Rotarians. We also connect with each other. And I think this is a big part of why Rotary has been so successful over the last 115 years, is that the connections that we make. I mean, I'm talking to you from Australia. So, the amount of connections that we use and generate from around our communities, people from international or even people of our own members, it's a real connective force that we have. We also inspire, and I'm inspired by a lot of Rotarians that I see doing the great works that we do. And I sort of sometimes think that, if Rotary did end tomorrow, just think of how many people would miss out on the opportunities that Rotary gives people, gives them. And so we are very inspiring, and the works that we do are inspiring, and we've got to keep that inspiration up. Can't lose sight of that. We also, Rotary gives us the opportunity to be empowered. And to be empowered to change people's lives. And it can be hard as an individual to make change, but as a group, we're able to make these changes. And also, lastly, which isn't really super heroic, but we can have fun. And I think this is the main focus that we should have in Rotary. And I see some of you now drinking, and that Brian is still drinking that beer there. The fun side. So if it's not fun, then what's the point of doing it? So we've got to look at how we can make our clubs fun and appealing to that next generation. Now, to do this, we've got to use social media. So I understand if you don't want to use social media yourself personally, that's perfectly fine. But I think you need to understand as how this tool can be used to promote not only your club but Rotary generally. Because 2 billion people are on Facebook each month. 900 million people are on Instagram, and people are on all these other new sorts of social media sites, TikTok and Snapchat and all this other kind of thing. But this is where the conversation is happening. So people aren't really relying now on getting their news from the TV or newspapers or things like that. People are relying on online mediums. Specifically social media. So this is where people are getting their information. This is where people are finding out what their friends and family are doing. And this is where Rotary needs to position itself to be able to talk about the stories and share the stories that we get up to, and hopefully attract prospective new members. So how do we use social media to attract diverse members? Well, for a start, we have to sort of stop talking about the old boys of Rotary. I'm not necessarily saying talking about the old boys of 1905, but I'm just saying we need to sort of change the way we promote. So instead of talking about the old guys, we've got to try and talk about the younger people. So the people involved in Rotaract, our alumni programs. There should be no barrier to you for us to be Rotarians, whether whatever who you pray to, or who you vote for, or who you have sex with, or whatever. There should be no barriers to us. If you want to help your fellow man, Rotary is an opportunity for you to be able to do that. And so we need to foster this relationship with a next generation, so that Rotary, we can sustain our clubs and sustain it going forward into the future. So to do that, we've got to make sure that things that we are putting out on social media resonate with people, because social media is a visual medium. Picture tells 1,000 words. And so inspiring images get actions, and they get a response. So I posted this graphic that I made up and for those who are on a call who might not be able to see the screen, it says, "Where will Rotary take you?" And so it's a long winding road and an open plain. and there's the a sign there, service above self. If I had enough room, it would have said service above self ahead or something along those lines. But the story I'm trying to tell here is that, we all go on our Rotary journeys. We're all going on that long road, and some of us take detours and some of us don't get to the finish line, or some of us do. But it's that sort of that value proposition. Where are you going to go with Rotary? And I think that's something that we need to talk about with our prospective new members, on what journey they can take by getting involved in our clubs. So whether you could be showcasing your club down in Antarctica, or whether you're doing a project like my friend Michael here in Ghana, with the smiling faces of the kids there, and these are sorts of photos that resonate well on social media, because they show that human side of it, the connection. Like Michael was there building a dam and some water wells. Now, water wells are interesting, of course, but no one really wants to see a hole in the ground. They want to see what kind of impact has been made. So that's why, always make sure when we put things off, if some of us or some of your club members have, say, go to Puerto Rico or go to other places, that you show the impact that you're having in some of these places with the work that you're doing as your club. This sort of photograph grabbed my attention. It's from the Rotary Club of Woolgoolga in New South Wales. Woolgoolga, and it's a coastal town, and it's about a 5 or 6 hour drive from Sydney, and still in the same state. I look at it and I think, why is there an Indian man kissing a fish? And why is the man holding a fish? Well, it turns out that each year there's a pelagic spearfishing competition that's held in Woolgoolga, and people from all around the world descend on this small coastal town, and they compete. They go out there and spearfish, and all the fish that gets caught gets donated to the Rotary Club, and the Rotary Club then auction that off to, obviously, all the participants who come. And it is actually quite a big fundraiser for the club. But this is the sort of image that I'm talking about that captured my attention, because it's not something that we normally see. This is another a funny image of a man in a Rotary Club. He was participating in a charity swim, and he wanted to be a merman, and so he bought himself one of these sort of latex suits, which he probably shouldn't have, but he's turned a bit of an awkward situation into a positive. And the good thing is, this sort of story got picked up on by BuzzFeed, which is a website that's known to be sharing Rotary stories. And so he put they put the link for his fundraising page on there, and they obviously told the funny story. They did an interview with him, and it got a lot of great traction, and he actually made quite a considerable amount of money from that. So, even the most awkward or funny situation can also be a positive too. So we need to tell great visual stories. So whether you're ending polio or whether you're engaging with youth exchange students, it's important for us that our picture tells a story of who we are and what we're doing in the community, or what we're doing as Rotarians around the world. But we've got to avoid photographs like this. So I've saved the club the embarrassment by not revealing who they are, but the headline is, "You can't miss Rotary in action," and it's got a photograph of two very disinterested Rotarians sitting at a table. So one of the gentlemen looks like he's just fallen asleep, so maybe he's enjoyed happy hour a little bit too much. But the point is that this picture isn't really telling any story. It's certainly not showing us that they're in action. I mean, if I was the photographer, what I would have done was probably ask these two gentlemen to maybe smile, or put their thumbs up, or maybe hands around each other, with a bit of a warm, friendly embrace, and showcase, a bit more action there. This is another photograph that I generally tend to see quite a lot on social media too, of sort of district events or club events, club meetings. It's always the back of people's heads, or it always seems to show the roof of the conference center, or wherever the meeting hall, or wherever they're in. The roofs are always shown off. But this photo is terrible. It's boring. It's got no interest. I mean, the only way you could make this interesting is if you actually got those people's attention and they turned around and they looked at you and they smiled. That could be something. So as my friend Arnold would say, stop it, don't do this anymore. Now, when I talk about the great things that we've got to make sure we've got a good visual, putting out a great picture and things like that on social media, it doesn't just stop at what we do online on social media. It also means that we've got to make sure we get our house in order too. So if you can see the this old Rotary sign, the Lions Club and certainly Rotaract have given up the ghost, and Rotary there is barely hanging on. But if you drove past this sign and if this is what the sign looks like, what do you think the club looks like? So it's trying to take a little bit of ownership and pride in our physical assets as well. So I would go down there and I'd change that sign. And you can just see what some other clubs in my district have done. If this is the Rotary Club of Northbridge, they've got their old sign there behind the beautiful, in front of the beautiful jacaranda tree. So they recently gave it an update. And they made sure they put the new sign there. It's got the new logo and the proper branding. But the most important thing is they've actually put their website address there. So anybody who did drive past this is now going to notice a bright blue sign, and it's going to catch. They're either going to read it, and so if they're going to be interested further, they're going to want to go to northbridgerotary.org. So it's given that extra little promotional kick. So if you've got your club signs out in the community, maybe it's time to head out there and see if they need a lick of paint or a bit of love. So what I'm trying to get at with my presentation today is I want you to talk about Rotary. I want you to talk about the good works that your club is doing in the world and in the community. More importantly, I want you to talk about you. Because that's what people are interested in. They're interested in the personal stories. They want to know why you're involved in Rotary, what you do in Rotary, and how you get the thrill or the joy that you do by being involved in your club. So we need to sort of share and talk about our own stories. We need to show our pride on social media. So if you use Instagram or Facebook, put up an image that you're a proud member of Rotary. Or tell people that you're having your meeting today, or tell people that you had a speaker from Australia talk to you on your go-to meeting or your regular meeting. It's up to us to really promote who we are as an organization. And I think one thing too, when it comes from that though, is we've got to not necessarily think about it as just a sole resource to recruit members, because that's a dangerous sort of trap that we can get in. We needed to think about how we can use it as sort of a marketing strategy to promote Rotary. I mean, you think about McDonald's. Now, McDonald's have probably got, billions and billions and billions of dollars. So you think, why are they bothering to, why do they bother to advertise? Why do they bother to put television ads on the TV? Well, the thing is that they constantly market themselves to be the leader. They're constantly marketing themselves so that people are wanting to go into their restaurants, even though they've already got, billions of dollars. And I think Rotary's got to be like that. We certainly don't have the money that McDonald's has, but we've got to be able to keep promoting who we are and what we do, and make sure people see the Rotary wheel and make that connection, so that we can hopefully get potential new members from that. But we don't want to focus just on getting numbers for the sake of it, like, we need another 5 members, we need another 10 members. What we need to do is start building on relationships with people. We need to tell our Rotary stories, and then we can invite that person to join the club and take part in the Rotary dream and go on the journey and all that sort of, really inspiring stuff. Because people don't, like feeling that they're a number. So we don't want numbers, we want Rotarians. Now, I can't go past the presentation without mentioning about the new, well, when I say new Rotary logo, it's been this way for about 7 years. But to maintain that sort of professional look that we have, we've got to use the right logos. And as I said, talking about McDonald's again, we couldn't expect McDonald's to change all their staff workers' uniforms and then have somebody wear the uniform from 10 years ago. That's not going to cut it. Everybody's got to look professional. They've all got to look I suppose look the same, but you get what I'm saying. So we need to look at our signage, we need to look at our shirts and other things, and make these changes where appropriate. If your club is getting in some new club shirts, then obviously you include the new Rotary logo, and I wouldn't say throw everything out that's old, but if it comes time to replace it, then replace it with the proper branding. And certainly what we can do on social media and our websites is stop using the old logos. That's the easiest change that we can make. So if you still see these on floating around, the other clubs or the district or whatever, it's time to really give these a rest. Retire them. Now, this is me pointing out to my friend Alexis that her Rotary back tattoo doesn't actually meet the branding guidelines. She told me exactly what I could do with my opinion, and involved a Rotary chicken. Anyway, so in summary, tell your story, look at your branding, utilize social media, and then engage with your alumni. So if you guys have a Rotaract club, or you've got Rotaractors in your district or interactors, work with them, build a relationship up with them, because these are going to be the people that are more likely wanting to get further involved in your club, because they already understand the ethos of Rotary. They know what Rotary means. So these are our potential new members from our alumni. So if you are on social media, please, as Brian said at the top of the meeting, follow my accounts. You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter, or my Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Rotarian Evan Burrell. And I just looked a little bit earlier today. I'm on 24,500 followers. So obviously something I do resonates with people, and it'll love to see you there. Follow me as well. I'd appreciate that. So now I can open up for questions, and if there is any questions about that or about anything in particular, I am happy to answer any questions that you have.
We are contemplating starting a Rotaract chapter or club at our local university. There used to be one years ago, but they lost their sponsor and lost their champion, I guess. So what would you advise us to do to help them and reorganize that club?
Well, look, I don't have too much experience with university-based Rotaract clubs, because predominantly in Australia they're all community-based. But what I would say, I would reach out to the leadership at the university. So I suppose there's a dean or dean of students or something like that. I would try and start those preliminary discussions with the leadership at the university, and explain that you wanting to start a Rotaract club, or an opportunity for younger people to be involved in sort of the organization. And then you need to, obviously, if you speak with them, they're going to identify to you that there could be potentially some prospective, young leaders at the university that could start the crux of building up this club. And then it would be a case of just reaching out to those younger people who've got a bit of get up and go, a bit of drive, and then obviously they've got to understand what the program is and all the rest of it. And then once you sort of start that ball rolling, then it would be quite easy to sort of set up and become sponsor and do the whole thing. Now, the only issue that we have with university-based clubs is the short life that a lot of them have, because they might join for a little while they're learning, and then they disappear. And again, Rotary's got a bad record of letting our program participants disappear into the ether. So sometimes it is a bit worthwhile to have a community-based Rotaract club rather than a university-based club, because there's that longer longevity of the club's existence. But if you've just got the university there, then I think that's a great start. But again, it's just trying to bring all those players on board and make sure that the club has that commitment, because the biggest problem that happens with Rotaract is that Rotarians or the Rotary sponsor club just tend to kind of set and forget, and don't build on that relationship and or mentorship or whatever, and then lo and behold, all the effort that's been made, the clubs disappear. So it's important to kind of really maintain that strong relationship.
As luck would have it, one of the deans just raised his hand while you were talking about that. So, Carl, there you go. Thank you. Other questions for Evan? Now you started your Rotary career as a Rotaractor, correct?
I did, yes. I started in 1999. I predominantly joined Rotaract to meet a girlfriend, um, and I was lucky. That worked well for me, and and I was in Rotaract for the 12 years there, from 18 to 30, and I was a group study exchange participant, and I did a Rotaract exchange to India, and went to conventions and all that kind of thing, and had a great time. And to me, becoming a Rotarian just felt like a natural extension of that. And I was sort of already, I suppose, indoctrinated into the world of Rotary. So for me, it was just an easy kind of transition. Rotaract and Rotary are very different, though, which is something that I got used to. But the unfortunate thing is that a lot of my Rotaract friends, they haven't sort of made that transition. So something's going wrong. Something's gone wrong there. So I think we just need to, again, as I said earlier, just work on how we build up the relationships between people. And I think that kind of works with a human dynamic. You'll see that sometimes you'll have a lot of members will leave a club if the club makes too many changes. And sometimes I say, don't let Rotarians put you off Rotary. So if you've got an issue with a Rotarian, don't let it ruin or tarnish the reputation of the organization as a whole. You could always go to another club or get involved in a different way. So it's all about how we maintain these sorts of human relationships.
Well, I have a question. I know that we meet every Tuesday at noon, basically. So what does it look like? What do your meetings look like? How often? Programs, so what does it look like for y'all?
Predominantly in Australia, we don't have too many lunchtime meetings. I think in my district, there's only one club that meets at lunch. Vast majority meet in the morning as breakfast clubs, or meet in the evening. And my club, for example, I'm in the Rotary Club of the Ponds, and we're Australia's first coffee club. So we only meet twice a month, and we meet on a Sunday afternoon at a local coffee shop. Obviously, we're now meeting via Zoom, but and our club is heavily involved with young families. We've got a couple of, I've got a young child, and we've got two other mums with their young kids, and our club is also very ethnically diverse as well, because that's sort of representative of the community that we're in. But a lot of the clubs are very similar to those in America. We all do, the similar sorts of things and similar types of programs, and have speakers and all that sort of stuff. The only real difference is that there doesn't seem to be as many lunchtime clubs, and I think maybe that's just a cultural thing in Australia, that people, perhaps back in the day, when the clubs did meet at lunchtime, people were able to sort of take time off work to go to a meeting and do these things. But nowadays in Australia, it's people barely even get time to take time off to go and have lunch, so let alone go to a club meeting. So that's why a vast majority have sort of either moved to the morning or moved to the evening sort of times.
Evan, we have a tremendous history in our club. We've been around 100 years this year, and we have several past district governors in our club that help guide us and steer us. In fact, there's at least 2 on the call today that I can see, and I'm not seeing everybody. But what would you advise a club like ours to do to recruit new people, people that might not have the history with Rotary?
Look, for example, as I said, you need somebody. Certainly, social media plays a big part into that, but also advertising too. And you can use social media and Facebook as an advertising platform. So if you've got club events, or you've got just a generalized, this is who the club is, you can use that sort of that feature to target people specifically in your area, or age brackets or orientation, sex, whatever. So advertising is a good way to reach that audience, but also work on your club strengths. So some of the things that your club is known for. So if you do annual projects or events that are sort of renowned in the community, make sure that you heavily sort of work on promoting on those. But again, also it's up to sort of how you interact with people and what kind of relationship you can build with people. So, for example, if your club hasn't run a sort of an interest meeting or an interest night, which is predominantly where the club just talks about yourselves and talks about what the club has achieved over the last 100 years, or and invite personal invitations of people to come along. Also, one good way is if your friends and family know that you're involved with Rotary too, it's a good way of trying to encourage your own friends and family members to become potential members too. So it's really harkens back to what get advertised, so what actually gets seen by people in the community, but also the development of relationships and how you can sort of build upon that as well.
Good, thank you. One of our PDGs asked the question, is Rotary membership growing in Australia?
No, it's not, unfortunately. Rotary membership isn't growing in America or Canada. Certainly it's going downhill in the UK and in Australia too. And that's predominantly because the demographics. As we know, Rotarians are predominantly made up of those, over the age of sort of 50, 60, 70s. And we, maybe 20 or 30 years or so ago, we didn't do enough to transition clubs into that next generation, either Generation X and now Generation Y. And so we're trying to play catch up on a little bit of that. So Rotary isn't growing, and I think perhaps that could be maybe even a sort of a Western society type of attitude too. Maybe people have more time to do other things, or because of the, used to see how much pressure people get put under with work, is that giving up their time to be involved, isn't something that they want to do. But also too, like we've got to think that, Rotary really isn't that sexy. Like we all come along and have a meeting, we all do the prayers and the pledges and this and that and everything else. And, just some of that stuff just doesn't really appeal to people. And look, to be honest, it doesn't really appeal to me either. I know we do it, but I'm not really that, in favor. I think it's a bit of a waste of energy. I would rather us, talk about, what we're doing in the community, who we are, and building upon that kind of friendship and understanding of the club members themselves as people, rather than just, ticking the boxes, right? The sergeant dings the bell. Okay, we've done that. Sing the anthem. Okay, we've done that. Do the prayer. Okay, we've done that. Do the pledge. Okay, we've done that. It just seems like we tick through the boxes. So, and it just goes through the same old, same old. So some of our practices can be seen as a little bit old fashioned. And again, that could be a detriment to us going forward with our membership. But ultimately, though, I think we need a bit of a fun injection. We need to realize that, fun is where people want to give up their time. If they're enjoying it, they're going to want to be involved. And so we've got to always constantly look at how we can make our clubs a little bit more appealing. Certainly what you're doing tonight with, happy hour, that kind of stuff. If you guys maybe out of your normal meetings, you meet at a bar, or you catch up, or, you work on projects, do things in the community. Maybe, a club I know, they built, they do some gardening work in some local parks, so their Rotary Park. But it's a good thing of getting out into the community, getting out into nature, and chop trees down and do all that sort of stuff. So it's getting out of just the routine of a club meeting.
Well, Evan, you are absolutely the first person that I've ever met in my life that has their own IMDb page. So I looked through your website and saw your acting credentials and the things that you had been in. I have a question though. There's a picture out there of you as part of a cast of a group that everyone's in yellow, and it's a cross section of Australia. What program might that have been?
Everyone is yellow.
Looked like Survivor
Yes,
or something.
yes. So that was a New Zealand television show called Island Wars, and it was like a Survivor light. It was a Survivor on a very small budget. It was filmed in New Zealand. Actually, no, it was filmed in the Cook Islands, and in Rarotonga. And off a tropical island off there, and it was an Australian team versus a New Zealand team, and it was kind of, we did the Survivor type challenges. We had to eat. I ate like a cooked sea slug and all this other kind of stuff. So yeah, that was about 10 years or 11 years or so ago now that I did that. But yeah, that was a good experience to spend 2 weeks on a tropical island, and I got paid for it, and yeah, it was certainly a lot of fun.
Well, the clip of you as the bus driver was riveting and Oscar worthy. I'm just going to say.
You're too kind. You're too kind.
That was great. All right. Anybody else have anything for Evan before we let him get back to his day? Because it's 8:30 in the morning there.
Oh, 9:30 now.
Oh, so okay, 9:30 now. All right. Well, Evan, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, and you've now been to Arkansas, so thank you.
I've been to 32 American states, but unfortunately, Arkansas is not one of them. And I would love to visit the state of Arkansas. And I've seen a little bit of the South. I still need to see North and South Carolina and Arkansas and what else is down there? Not Mississippi. I've seen Mississippi, but I've still got to see a bit more of the South, and I've still got to see. I've seen mostly of the Midwest and all of the inside and most of the coasts. But I hope to in my lifetime see all 50 states of America. But and I think I'm going to get there actually relatively sooner rather than later. So thank you kindly.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, and we appreciate it. So everybody in Arkansas says thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that. Cheers.
Thank you. You guys are great. This has been really good. Next week, everybody, Remotery episode 7. Dr. Shane Spites is the Dean of the NYIT College of Medicine, and he is also medical director of the city of Jonesboro. We think it's appropriate for us to maybe have another update on the coronavirus and COVID. And if you watch the governor's press conference again today, he extended his directives for another 45 days. So for those of us in lockdown with a whole bunch of people, gosh, I love that. So, so there you go.
But their hair is going to be done.
Do what?
Their hair is going to be done. They're going to be happy.
That's exactly right. They are. And before we move on, there's been several comments that if there is a prize to be won for Happy Hour 2000 or 2020, the award goes to John Carmack for not only the hat, but he got a Chihuahua. And that's the fourth commitment to Cinco de Mayo. So, hey, you are the man.
I deserve something. I mean, I've been drinking the whole time.
Hey, Brian.
Little dog.
We bring up a thought for the day, and this is actually next year's Rotary president, Holger Kanak. He's German, if you didn't get the expectorant. Everything we do opens another opportunity for someone somewhere, and the Rotary logo symbolism is going to be those doors that are down in the bottom of your screen there. So that's pretty nifty, neato too. So let's go. Anybody got anything else you want to share? We good?
Good night,
All right.
mate.
Well, it is, yeah, matey. whatever that is. It is now 6:29, and we are going to finish within an hour. So thank you for happy hour. Cheers to you. We appreciate your participation, and hope you enjoyed the program. And what say we do this again next week? Maybe at noon. We'll try.
Sounds good.
Whatever
Yeah.
works.
Happy hour.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know.